Hey YouTube fam, welcome back to another episode of Code with Annie. In this episode, we are going to continue with the Java Fundamental series and we are going to take a look at the conditionals in Java. So, if you want to execute a conditional logic in Java, basically based on some conditions you want to execute a certain part of code, you'll go ahead and use one of these if else, or else if ladder, or you go with the switch statement. Let me explain in detail what these two are and how they work in Java. So, let's say we have in tech employee a new method, okay, which is not part of employee but only part of tech employee. I'm going to say public string get employee type, okay, based on years of experience. Let's say I say int years of experience. Okay, what I'm going to do is based on the years of experience, I'm going to return the type of employee. So there are three types I'm keeping in mind here. One is tenured, one is intermediate, and one is beginner. Okay, I'm going to have an if condition here first. I'm going to say if years of experience is greater than 10. Okay, return tenured. All right. Next, I'm going to say if years of experience is greater than 5, return intermediate. Next, I'm going to say if years of experience, or I'll rather say just return beginner. Why? Because if it's not going to be greater than 10, not going to be greater than 5, that means whatever it is less than 5, and I'm saying it's just a beginner. Okay. Now, this is a very basic if conditional that I've applied here. The reason I'm not using an else here is because this return keyword ensures that my program or this particular function will terminate as soon as it returns the particular value. So return is the last thing that you will encounter before the function actually ends. So in case this condition is satisfied, where I'm saying if open close parenthesis years of experience greater than 10, I'll return tenured and this is where the program will end for me. Program in the sense this particular method will end for me. Now, if this is not satisfied, it will go ahead and try to see if this is true. If it is, then it will end at line 30. Otherwise, it will end at line 32 by returning beginner. Now, this is how a simple if works. Now, if I want to convert this to an if else ladder or else if ladder, what I'll do is I'll say string type, okay, and I can say type equal to tenured, okay, else if years of experience is greater than 5, type is equal to intermediate, else type is equal to beginner. And here I will return type. So this is how I can convert a normal if conditional into an if else if ladder, basically. Okay. So this is how the conditional if works in Java. Now, most of the times you will encounter that if there is a lot of if else statements, right, it might become a slightly more confusing thing because this if condition right now is just processing a very simple logic of returning the type, but in the real world problems that you face, you will have many complex logic that is happening within this condition. Like if there's some condition here, and based on that, you can have multiple things happening. And even in fact, these conditions can be conjoined. For example, there is this condition years of experience greater than 10, right? I can also have a condition saying and years of experience less than equal to 20. So likewise, I can have a lot of conjunctions in this logic, and that might cause a lot of complex logic to sit inside these conditionals. Therefore, it might even result in having more if-else statements within if-else statements. So within this if, I can have 5 more if-else conditions. And when you come to readability, it might become a little more difficult to read. And therefore, it is advised that when you write such conditions, always be wary of the length of conditionals that you go, the depth of the conditionals that you go in. Okay. Make sure that the depth is easily readable. You should not have multiple if-else statements here. Like I can have another if, okay, I can have another if inside this. So if I do this, slowly you will begin to notice that it is becoming very difficult to read it. Okay. So that being said, this is the purpose of if-else and conditionals in Java. There's one more way of writing conditionals, which is using the switch statement. The difference is, let me show you with another public method. Let's say you have a public string, okay? Let's say get employee designation, okay? I think you have a method for designation. No, you only have a name, okay? Let's say get employee designation. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna just pass the, let's say we should have a constant on which we'll operate it, okay? Let's say I pass designation type, okay? Now these are constants which will always not change, always have the same value, okay? How I'm going to operate is, I'm going to say based on the designation type, you just return me the designation name, okay? So what I'll do is I'll just switch designation type, okay? I can say case 1, okay? Return case 1, return software engineer or SDE1 probably, okay? Break. Same way, I'll say case 2, return SDE2, break, okay? Case 3, return SDE3, break. Default, return no designation assigned, okay? Break. So if you look at this code, it's saying because I've used a return, you don't need a break. So what I'll do is I'll just say string designation, okay, and I'll just assign it here instead. I'm going to do is assign designation equal to, because I want to explain the break logic here instead of using return, why break can be used. So I'm going to explain that in this video. So here I'm going to say designation equal to this thing, okay. Now switch statement can be enhanced with, this is called enhanced switch. I'll come to this, but yeah, this is how your basic Java switch statement looks like. Okay, it takes in a value which is a constant, and based on that constant, it does a case matching. It says case 1. If it is satisfied, this particular type is coming as 1, then your value will be this. If it's 2, value will be this. If it's 3, value will be this. Okay, and if none of these match, then the default will be executed, wherein it says designation will be equal to this. Okay, and I'll return designation here so that it looks like I'm using it. Otherwise, it was grayed out. Okay, the break is important because as soon as I encounter a particular case which satisfies the condition, I should break out of this particular thing. I don't want to go ahead and check for 2 and 3. So if 1 is satisfied, it will assign this and it will break completely out of this. Okay, if I don't put break, in certain cases you may not need to put break. For example, in situations like case 3 and let's say there is one more case 4, okay, but that also will want to have designation as SDE3. So what I'll do is I'll do this, but I'll remove the break and I'll remove this designation here. So if I pass 3 or 4, it will cascade directly and say designation equal to SDE3 and break here. Okay, so this is how you have cascading switch cases in Java. Okay, let's say even irrespective of 3 or 4, it is going to take both of these into consideration and it will assign designation as SDE3. So this is combining different cases together when you use switch statement. All right. Instead of break, if you want to avoid that, you can simply put return as I had initially put. You can just say return SD1, return SD2, or return SD3, because that is going to be the last statement it will execute. But if you're having a value on which you're going to operate later on, then it is better to use the break so that you can stop your execution then and there. All right, this is the purpose of default, just to return a default value if none of the cases are matching. And this is how the switch statement will work. Remember, to use a switch statement, you should have a particular type in mind because the case matching only happens on a specific value, unlike if and else where you can have a range of values through which you can operate. Okay, this is the fundamental difference. And now let us look at this warning and I'll show you how this can be changed to an enhanced switch. So it is saying replace with enhanced switch, right? This is one of the IntelliJ suggestions. If I click on this, this is how your code now becomes. So this is a more functional style of writing the same switch statement. I'm saying switch, designation type, just open plus parentheses, and you can have case 1, arrow SD1, case 2, arrow SD2, case 3, comma 4, SD3, default, no designation assigned. So no breaks, nothing. So this is the new functional style of writing the same switch statement as opposed to the older style, which was like this. The reason I explained the older style is because I wanted to show you how the fundamental switch looked like before it can be switched to this newer one. So even if you write the old one, it is absolutely fine. It will work the same way. And if IntelliJ suggests you to change it, you can adapt to this functional style as well if you find this more easier or convenient to write. That being said, we can just test out the theory here. From main class, I can say tech employee, new tech employee, set the age 35. And let's say I set the age to 25 because I think tech employee is having, okay, there's less than 20, right? So let's say I put it as 10 and 15. I'll put it 15. Let me run this. Oh, it'll just print this thing, right? So we'll have to print out employee dot get employee type, and I'll set the experience as 15. This age is irrelevant. I'm sorry, I would have said this by mistake. Let me run it again. So it should print out tenured because 15 lies between 10 and 20. Likewise, if I were to change this to 4 years, it will say intermediate, and else it's going to say beginner, right? No, 4. A 6 or 7 will say intermediate, sorry, my bad. Let's say if I put 7 years, it's going to say intermediate. And same way, I can have another print line for employee dot get employee designation based on type. So I'm going to say by type 2, it will print out, see intermediate came, now it should print out for type 2 is D2. See? So in case I send something which does not even match any of these, if I send 5, it should say no designation assigned because that's your default case. All right. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.